this whole hillside 20 years ago was a beautiful orchard, but it has been a little abandoned and a lot neglected. Some of these trees need some very creative trimming to potentially be productive again, and we're gonna try because they're already here, they're already established, but we're going to plan for about 50 other fruit trees on this hillside. We need to open up a little bit of the canopy so that they can get enough sunlight. We also need to just clean things up and make it look a little bit nicer. And because I don't want to be up here carrying buckets of water for 50 fruit trees once a day, I'm also going to set up the hillside and kind of have these trees water themselves. The first thing that I needed to do to start this project was make space for my tractor to get up to the upper part of the property. Next up, I'm going to clear out some of the space behind us, and in the process, I'm going to be actively burning all of this stuff so that I can use that wood ash later on. If you're intimidated by using a chainsaw, here's a couple safety tips. First, if you have long hair, tie it back. Wear tight-fitting clothing or make sure that everything's tucked in. Long sleeves are great, but not really baggy ones that could get caught in machinery. Have the right protective gear. These are chaps and helmet. You always want to keep your ears safe as well. And of course your eyes. Start with a small saw that is comfortable and easy to wield. But do remember that this is a spinning blade and can get very dangerous very quickly. So probably the best time to learn how to use your chainsaw is not right in the middle of your very first project. There are tons of awesome safety resources online, so make sure you check those out before you get started. In fact, one of my best friends, April Wilkerson, who you've seen a lot of times on this channel, made an awesome Chainsaw 101 video on her channel as well, and I'll link that below. Let's do this. Look at this. I just found a persimmon tree, and not just found a persimmon tree, but like a ripe, they're ripe now. What are the chances? As we get ready to cut this stuff up, let's talk about battery and gas chainsaws. I keep a battery-powered saw on my tractor at all times. It offers all of the power that I need and actually has very little difference between a gas-powered saw. And because it doesn't have a 2-cycle engine, it is a little bit more approachable of a tool because you don't have to manage that engine. It starts every time as long as the battery is charged, and you don't have to worry about mixing special gas for it. When I am doing a whole bunch of cutting though, I do prefer to use a gas saw because you have infinite runtime. As long as you've got gas, you don't have to worry about charging batteries. And as long as you keep it well maintained, still chainsaws will last a lifetime. If you saw me build my mobile chicken coop, you saw a very small scale rain collection system get put into use. And as small as it is though, one rainstorm can fill up a 55-gallon drum. Now, just think, what if there was a way that you could collect every raindrop that fell onto your entire property and use it to your advantage? I'm laying out the hillside using a super nifty handmade surveying tool so that we can use the contour of the land to our advantage, collecting rainwater as it falls and sending it down the hill in little trenches called swales that will water each tree as the water passes by. After we've got the contour of the entire hillside and our tree placement marked out, we will dig one long zigzagging trench that will collect rainwater as it runs down the hill, dispersing it along the tree line at a 1-degree pitch. Imagine this leaf is my hillside. So it's quite steep. If there's nothing to catch the water, it will rain and that water will just flow right off. Now, if we can capture a little bit of that water by digging a ditch, then we can control where that water is going to flow, but too steep a ditch and all of the water will immediately flow out. So what we can do is actually measure the angle of the ditch so that it holds the water long enough that it can water our plants, but then you know, continues off on down the hill. This little tool is exactly how the ancient Romans built the aqueducts. And it is a very simple to build tool. You can find plans for it on my website, annofalltrades.com. We want a 1 degree pitch on our contour, and that may not seem like a whole lot, but that's exactly what we need to keep the water flowing downhill, but also stopping to water our plants long enough. So as soon as I've got my mark on 1 degree, I'll give it another squirt and then step it over again. One of the biggest mistakes that first-time gardeners make is planting their fruit trees too close together. So conveniently, this not only just looks exactly like my logo, unintentional, but it also acts as a perfect spacer. It's 4 feet wide at the bottom, so if we want our contours to be on 12-foot centers, we can just go 1, 2, 3, and then this is where our next contour line will start. This project is obviously way bigger than what we're going to actually show in today's video, because I think we're going to do the whole hillside and probably 50 or 60 trees. But I did want to show how to actually plant a tree while we're all still here together. So I got a couple bare root cherry trees, and we're going to put them in the ground. What you want to do is dig down just below where your root ball will go into the hole. We put it down into the hole, line it up plumb with our eyes, and then we start backfilling it in. The best time to plant your trees is either in the very early spring or the late fall, when all of the trees around you are dormant. And that basically just means that they've gone to sleep for the winter. They've lost their leaves. The thing about that is that we're putting new roots down, and we don't want to ask very much of that root system. If they had a whole bunch of leaves and other foliage that they had to take care of, well, then it would be a much bigger task to stay alive. Once we get all the soil back in the hole, we start packing it around. We, you know, adjust for straightness. Then we tamp it down with our feet. If you're planting, like I said, in the late fall or the early spring, you should have plenty of rainfall to support your tree. But it's always a good idea, if you have a water source, to just give it a little drink right when you first put it in the ground. When the weather cools down a little bit more and the bare root trees start shipping in bulk, we'll get 50 or 60 more of these guys into the ground, and next year there will be an orchard. Well, in like 5 years there will be fruit, but there will be a whole bunch of sticky things poking out of the ground until then. Another huge thank you to Steel for sponsoring this project and providing us with the equipment that we needed to get this project done. If you like this video, I have a whole playlist of homesteading topics you can check out. I will see you in the next video. Cheers!